My computer's decent, but like I don't want to overtax it in the middle of this.
I'll keep an eye on it. I'll like chat and let you know.
Yeah, this looks fine. My chat will be a little tiny bit over the edge, but I think it's fine.
Advertisement playing. Let me tell you how happy I am that Twitch took away my ability
to circumvent the advertisement.
To stop watching advertisements. I love it so much. I'm so happy that it's every fucking stream that I turn on, I have to watch the same stupid commercial that I've seen 6,000 times.
But you know what? I didn't even have ad block for a while on Twitch because I was trying to support streamers and stuff like that.
Noob.
I barely had any ads. And then when it happened, I was like, okay, there are actually more ads now than there were, and I never had ad block on. This is actually worse. Now I've got like the whole fucking real estate is like just hurling content at me that I don't give a shit. I don't want to fucking play Maple Story 2. Piss off.
I just like I was trying to watch the rebroadcast of Lil, and I just hit a certain point. It was just like commercial. I'm like, I can't deal with this. This is just miserable.
Yeah, it's mental.
You can probably make our thing a little bit bigger, by the way, Tannen.
I'm not gonna mess with anything while it's up forever.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh no! What did I hit? Oh, okay.
Don't break.
This actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think this looks good for just like guerrilla. Yeah. What?
Theoretically, Tannen, couldn't you just take away your thing and enable it in Discord?
Even? No, I don't.
No, because like the thing is, if I start changing the camera thing, it'll start showing parts of y'all too. It like gets all funky because it has two different camera feeds. This is the best way I could do it.
Well, if you disconnect the camera feed to like OBS or whatever.
Oh, well, I'm on XSplit. Is it different?
Yeah, same thing. You would basically just.
I think this is good enough because it actually kind of works with the chat. Like the chat doesn't go over my screen. You get what I'm saying? I can move the chat over a tiny bit. Probably shouldn't do that. I can fix this later. I'll move the chat to where it looks like. Here we go. Look, bam, chat's perfect now. Look, it looks better now.
Oh, look at that.
We got Thunder Mode here too. Thunder Mode. I didn't know you were such a big Overwatch fan, by the way.
Thunder Mode's just.
I love me some Thunder Mode, by the way.
Yeah. Wait, aren't you a TwitchCon right now, Mo?
No, I think you got it home. I'm sorry. What?
Yeah, everybody's back from TwitchCon.
I wonder if he has the plague. Everyone always gets the plague when they go to those things.
Not surprised.
No, it's brutal. Shaking hands with everyone actually fucks you over. Like I
started doing the pound.
Oh yeah, you got to pound it. But
yeah,
like,
so
many
pound.
people come at you like this, and they're like, ha
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, I know. Fucking Rock loses the paper, but I ain't shaking your damn hand.
I was gonna say, like, it is awkward to be like, no, we're gonna like do the closed fist stakes, or sometimes you do it without thinking and stuff. Like,
or it's even worse. My mate Matt, he always wears like long sleeves. He like pulls the sleeve over the fucking pound and goes through it. He's like a hypochondriac, my co-caster. So he's like, everyone comes in for a shake, and he's like, oh, give me a sec. Yep. Oh, there we go.
Do you follow poker at all, or did you ever get into poker?
Not really, honestly, because I'm like super afraid of gambling. Because I know myself.
Okay. So I hate gambling, but I played poker for a living for like, we'll get to that. That's not a conversation. We'll have that later. But I hate gambling, but I played poker for a living for like 15-ish years. And whenever I would go to the World Series in Vegas, like I actually lived there for a while, but whenever I would travel there too, it's like a thing. Like, because you have people from literally 80 different countries there for the World Series. And so there's people wearing masks, there's people wearing gloves. Like, they literally walk around with like Purell dispensers. And they're like, here you go, here you go, here you go. Because you're touching the cards and stuff. And like, I remember I got super mad at this person once. They were like eating at the table with like out utensils. I'm like, I literally went and got them utensils. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, we all have to touch your chips. We all have to touch these cards. Like, stop, like.
You can lead a horse to water, Tannen, but that's about it.
Very true. How long did it take you to get your pilot license so you could fly me to Vegas? I am afraid of heights. I could barely get on a plane to travel, so I don't know about actually flying one. So
I am too, which is also like really weird because I love roller coasters. Like I really love.
I'm liking them more now.
I just go to theme parks constantly, and it's just like so enjoyable for me to do that kind of thing. And people are like, "What are you doing? We're gonna go do this." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll catch you later. I'm just gonna ride this like 6,000 times."
Real quick, golf clap, everybody! Golf clap for Will Pulliam is in the chat. Our champion over the weekend, Mr. Pulliam. I was I don't know if you went back and watched your match yet, because I know you might have to. You'll see me in your Twitch chat. I went nuts. I was very happy for you. So Sorry to cut you off, Rudy.
There.
The champ is in the house though.
I mean, I tuned in quickly to the modern coverage, and like the first thing I saw was Lost Miriam mulliganing to 4, and I'm like, this is the fucking content I want to see.
Yeah, good old Lost Miriam
getting salty. So good.
That's my teammate, man. Did you get to watch last week's by any chance?
A little bit of it.
Oh, okay. Because like I had an insane match last week where to make top 8, so like the win and in for the playoff.
Yeah.
I'm against my like worst possible matchup in the room. Like I'm playing. You said you don't like. I'm playing Tron. My opponent's playing Infect. Like they just kill because I don't interact or whatever.
Yes.
And I mulligan to 4 on the draw in the last game and somehow win. Like my hand is the most disgusting thing you've ever seen for 4 cards, and I get so incredibly lucky. And it's like really funny because the whole time the casters are like, you know, you hate to see it go out this way. It's a bad way to end your weekend, but like, you know, you still had a good run, blah, blah, blah. And then I turn the corner and everybody's like, wait a minute. And like Twitch chat just goes like from like slow mode to like just blows up, you know, like everybody's like, oh my God. And like, I was like, in my mind, I was like, I'm still going to lose this game somehow. It's going to be so anticlimactic. It's going to suck so bad. But I ended up, you know, clutching it or whatever. So it was nice. But
has Assassin's Trophy made it much harder for
no,
decks like this?
No. Okay, like that's a good question. Like Rudy thought, like, you know, it was like talking about how like it could possibly. I do think it makes decks that have that card like they're better because they don't have to use like a wider different kinds of answers. They get this one ubiquitous one. I still don't think it like stops Tron from doing what it's trying to do because I still get another land. And the problem isn't always me getting to like 10 or 15 mana. If like I cast a 5 or 6 drop in most of those games, they're still just dead. And that was my plan that weekend.
Some shit.
Yeah, just cast like Worm Coil Engine. I don't know. Yeah. Like they just can't beat that card.
Also, kind of a funny story. I think this might be the first time in SCG history where the trophy went home with somebody else on this cast.
Oh yeah. So have you heard about this? There's a curse. Like I can't win a tournament. I've lost in the finals 3 times this year alone and stuff. And like I just can't win this tournament. But out of the last 4 opens that I've been able to drive to, 3 different times the trophy has come home with me in my car, just not mine.
Yes.
Somebody I've ridden to the tournament with.
I think I saw Brennan talking about this.
Yeah.
At some point.
It's kind of funny because Will's my roommate.
Yeah, his roommate won it this weekend, so it went home with him.
So when I drove home, we just drove with the trophy again.
It's really funny with your name because we were joking we're going to make an Uber service where
Yes,
like
I saw it linked in my Discord actually, and I fucking lost it.
Yeah.
So
So Brad, do you want a trophy anytime soon?
I could use one, yes.
You use another one?
Goes with it specifically. Tannen, do you want to come and get me and drive with me to the Pro Tour?
Yeah, sure. It's in Atlanta. Where's this one?
It's in Atlanta.
Okay, so Orlando flights are super cheap for me. How far is that drive? Like 8 hours? It's probably more than that, right?
A little less.
Ooh, better idea. You can fly to Greenville, and I'll drive you to Atlanta because it's 2 hours.
That sounds way worse.
Ooh. Yeah, I'd rather I could fly to Louisiana, and then Baton Rouge, and then hang out with Tannen, and then we could drive there with Benny.
And the puppy,
Well,
yeah.
That's actually a good point. But I have Will, and Will's like a puppy himself, so it's like, you know.
Look, you've seen my dog.
Close, but not quite Benny.
You've seen my dog. Nothing is close to Benny. All right, you guys want to get started?
Yeah, whenever.
do it.
All right, who's Rudy? Do you want to do the intro?
I'll do the intro.
Since you brought on the guest.
You don't want me to do the intro this week?
yeah, because I would love if you did the intro ever. It'd be the worst thing in the world.
I mean, I can.
Wow, so rude.
I mean, I can do it if you want, Rudy. As you like usual.
I can do it. It's fine. I just like was not prepared when you were like, "You do it." I was like,
Rudy, I'll just do it.
Froze for a minute. Yeah, I got it. All right.
Rudy, I can do it, man.
No, I
All right.
got it.
All right.
Yeah, sure. Rock, paper, scissors for it. Actually, yeah.
Well, wait. I can't see Tannen's camera. Mine's gonna be.
All right. On 3 or go.
It's always on go. What do you mean?
It's always on 3. All right. So
shoot. Rock, paper,
right.
scissors, shoot.
Is it best of 3? We're doing 1. We're doing 1. Best of 1. Ready?
Okay.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, go. Oh, okay. Whatever.
Did I win?
Yeah, you won. Yeah, I went paper. Yeah, you win.
Delayed on
Yeah, you won. You won.
Yeah, you won.
You won.
I'm a wizard.
All right. I'm gonna mute and get ready.
Okay, I'm gonna start in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of Grinders Cast MTG. I'm Rudy Bixa here, once again, joined by Brad Carpenter, Tannen Grace, but we also have a special guest in Mitch UberShouts Leslie, joining us all the way from the Overwatch League. How's everyone doing today?
Fantastic.
Oh, I am good. Great to be here amongst a players that I've sort of watched and admired over the last few years. So it's quite surreal for me, and like a crossover, of course, from my sort of Magic enthusiasm, which isn't always sort of super public as an Overwatch guy. So yeah, it's cool. Worlds collide, boys.
Yeah, this is great. I'm actually I didn't tell you this because I didn't want to seem like it, but I actually fanboyed a lot when you said you wanted to come on the show and you were like a fan of Magic and we got to talking and I was just like, this is great.
Yeah, because
I've been doing this longer than I've been casting. I've been playing Magic longer than I've been casting, so it's probably one of my most longest stretching curious obsessions.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rudy and I actually both watch Overwatch League quite a bit. In fact, we do, I don't know if you do this in your friends of games on, we do a mandate where we'll call each other on Skype or whatever and have it up on the other screen. We'd be like, oh my God, did you see that? And stuff like that. So it's pretty great, especially when our teams play each other. We actually have a friendly wager, if you want to call that, every single time. And Rudy has not fared too well in those so far.
Who were the teams?
We won the league season 1, and your team is still the Outlaws. So.
Yeah, I'm an Outlaws fan. Hey, I won the bet, man. That's all that mattered to me. That's what matters. But anybody do anything fun this weekend? How are you guys doing?
I got to play the SCG Modern Open in not actually Charlotte, which is kind of interesting because if you were actually paying attention to Twitter. Even though it wasn't actually in Charlotte, it was a little bit away from Charlotte. Lots of people went to the Charlotte Convention Center and missed the Open completely. Which I didn't know about that because it was a very small Open. I think it was 500 people or something like that. Which for a format like Modern on the East Coast is extraordinarily small. Especially in this area, Modern is very popular. The PPTQ I went to was 35 people. And, that was 2 hours away. And a lot of the people that were there were all local to my area as well. But I got to play a deck that I've been really excited about. I got to play this Runaway Red Steamkin deck where you're kind of like this sick combo deck where you're playing Steamkin and Manamorphose, Desperate Ritual, Arclight Phoenix, Bedlam Reveler. And so you just have Faithless Looting and all these ways to combo through. The sweetest thing that I did all weekend was I killed my Scapeshift opponent on the draw on turn 3. I 17'd him.
Wow.
So that was the deck does some really busted things. He was just put a lethal in play, go, you're dead next turn. And I drew with just a Steepkin in play and 2 mountains, played my 3rd mountain and 17 my opponent.
That's pretty impressive.
So the deck just does some wild and crazy things. And then on top of that, my roommate Will Pulliam, who we drove together, ended up winning the Open with Amulet Titan. It's a deck that he's played on and off for a couple of years. He was really excited to jump into this weekend and play it. He played a few leagues as kind of a refresher, and he ended up with the best possible thing that you could do, which is win the tournament.
It was an Amulet Titan mirror in the finals.
Yeah.
And there was no humans or dredge in the top 8?
Not a single one.
No, which is wild because there were 13 human decks that made day 2, and there were 13 Tron decks that also made day 2, and Tron also did not top 8 as well.
Yeah, it was a pretty impressive top 8 and how diverse it was from what you would expect. And then it's just Primeval Titan stole the show. It was 3 Primeval Titan decks in the top 4, along with Blue-White Control. Are you joking me? What is this? Is it 2010? What's going on in Modern right now? That was. I don't know. I was very surprised by the top 8 and the results. Seeing an Amulet Titan mirror, if you would have bet that at Vegas or something, you probably get 500 to 1 on your money. Just the biggest line they could possibly give you. So that would never have happened. Brad, you do anything fun this weekend?
I actually got to enjoy the League of Legends semifinals for Worlds. That was my main thing. Streamed a little bit and got to enjoy watching C9 get dumpstered by Fnatic and G2 getting crushed by Invictus Gaming. So
are they done with that yet, or
no? There is Worlds, I think, in 2 weeks or 1 week. I'm not sure, but it was super good. It's funny how insane League of Legends is because I don't actually play anymore, I hardly know what anything does, but it's still super entertaining, and I watch Worlds every year.
Yeah, I think it's just the final now. I think it's Fnatic versus Invictus Gaming in the finals.
Yep.
Which is nutty because it's the first time since 2014 that a Korean team has not been in the top
exactly.
Or I don't think it's ever actually happened. So it's really notable that sort of Chinese teams, but also a European team is representing.
Yep, it could have been a all European finals too. It's insane. This year has been completely different. It's like we finally seen all of the teams kind of level out, or all of the nations and stuff, and there's not like this imbalance where just like Korea comes in and it's just like, oh, you guys play League of Legends too? I couldn't tell.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah, you guys play? Yeah, because like I don't even play the game. I've never played a minute of that game. I've seen it. I could recognize it on screen, but even I know that game was dominated by the Koreans, and stuff like that. And I keep seeing that like, oh my God, there's no Korean team. And that's got to be good for the game, right? I mean, like, I'm again, outsider looking in, that's got to be good for League of Legends, right?
Yeah, it's like the first year that there hasn't been like a clear favorite. I mean,
that's good
there
too.
Are teams that are better than the other ones, but they're still like very beatable, and no one's just like beating the ever living crap out of someone in the first 10 minutes of the game. It's just been overall an awesome Worlds, probably the most exciting that I've seen in like the 4 or 5 years that I've watched it.
It's the parity between the regions that it makes it so exciting, and it is a super good sign because it also means for like further growth and development in those sort of separated regions. You've got world-class teams like from all of them now. In League of Legends, there was a very long period of just Korean dominance, and there was just there was a meme, that people would, whenever a Western team would do relatively well against sort of foreign or like Korean opponents, they'd say the gap is closing. Ironically, because it never really was, but at least now they're actually seeing that. Fortunately, in Overwatch, it's not been too much the same. Like we actually, because everyone is here in LA and has had similar facilities and environments, like it's been a real fertile ground for like Western teams to also rise up. But still, Korean players are considered far hotter prospects, especially before coming into the league, because of the infrastructure and the environment that they develop, in as players before they join the Overwatch League or something like that. So there's still a disparity.
That's pretty awesome because like I said, it's got to be good for the health of the game. Like, because here's the thing: if you're like an up and coming guy in like America or person in America or Europe, and you really like League of Legends, you want to like try to take it to like the next level. Like, and this goes for any game, but you see that it's just always dominated by this same country. Like, I mean, Magic went through a phase where it just felt like Japan was dominating Magic for like a 3 or 4 year. What was that, like 3 or 4 years? It was like every player of the year, most Pro Tour champions. You're just like, man, the Japanese guys, they're doing something different and they're doing something better, And so like you can take it one of two ways. It can discourage you, or it can encourage you. You can be like, I need to work harder. We all need to work harder. And, like you said, it's just good for the growth of the game. As for myself this weekend, I took it kind of easy. I played in a local tournament. It was like a team tournament, so those are always really fun. Like getting to play with your friends is my favorite way to play Magic. We did really bad. I did not play super, super great. We did like not catching, whatever. It's like whatever. But got to watch some good football this weekend. The Saints took home a big win, and I know you're a big fan too. The Saints took home a big win on national TV on Sunday night. Looked really good against a very good Vikings team as well. So enjoyed that. Got to eat some good food and hang out with the family.
So what you're telling me is that Brian Basoko is not good enough to carry you to...
Oh, he didn't lose. He didn't lose. I said me. I didn't play well. I think the only game I saw him lose, it was like he like mulliganed to like 5 in the humans mirror, and then still like the other person had to play insanely well and rip to beat him. Like they had to rip like a very specific thing. He's like, yeah, they got 3 outs if I play it this way, so I'm gonna play it this way. It's like, yeah, that sounds good to me. Like whatever, and they ripped it. He's like, oh, I guess we lose. And I was like, this guy just refuses to lose. I see how he's got so many trophies for so few tournaments played. I'm like, I need to start like getting tips from him or something. But
yeah, Brian is so good. He's also like very fun to hang out with, and I know that's one of the things we talked about. You really like going to team tournaments because you get to play with your friends. That's one of the reasons that I really enjoy team tournaments. But I also like being able to spend time with my friends outside of Magic, and I know we've talked about it before, but I'm really excited for Las Vegas in a couple weeks, because Las Vegas, I know we're all going to hang out. We're going to have a great time. I know Brian's coming. We're going to just basically hang out and eat and chill all weekend, and I guess every once in a while we could go play Magic, but I'm really looking forward to like the hanging out and eating part.
I plan on gaining at least 5 pounds, or I consider the trip a failure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna wake up at one point and be like, I kind of forgot like 2 hours last night. I hope it wasn't terrible. Check my bank account.
I'm doing at least 4 meals a day. I'm letting you know, Rudy. So if you want to keep up. How was your weekend, Mitch?
I don't sleep and I eat a lot, so we'll be good to go.
Exactly. How was your weekend, Mitch?
Good. I didn't do actually a whole lot. I kind of just chilled with the missus for a bit. I carved a pumpkin for the first time because that's the thing you guys do apparently.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to understand you people. So I carved a pumpkin for like, so I carved a pumpkin, and I was like, so how do I still be obnoxiously Australian whilst embracing this American tradition? So I carved a kangaroo in my pumpkin and called it a day.
There you go.
Did that. I watched a bunch of the GP Lille coverage because I love Standard. I was devastated that I couldn't watch like the finals of the GP New Jersey.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like.
Oh, it's not like it was too really.
Cassis versus Brad Nelson. And I was playing. I'm a big Jeskai fan in general in all formats, and I'm like, why? We'll get to that later anyway. But obviously, that wasn't being broadcast, which is a shame. But yeah, I just tried to watch a bunch of Magic stuff, and just kick back. Honestly, right now I'm not working on the Overwatch League, so. I'm kind of on holiday, but I'm also having to get ready for BlizzCon next week because that's when our World Cup finals are. So, bunch of note taking, bunch of VOD review, just getting ready for that tournament.
Okay, so like I guess we can kind of like dive into coverage a little bit here since this is a good way to segue. And I love something that you said there. You have a lot of note taking, and I gotta believe you do your homework. You showed us like you had notes ready for the show. I don't know if you wanted to like flash the camera or anything with it. You have a notebook of literal handwritten notes on it. And when you showed me that, I was like actually just impressed. I loved seeing that, and hearing you say that you do that for your show as well. That's super impressive. Is that something that you think is like necessary in the preparation stage to just be ready to do your job when you get to a tournament coverage?
Well, I think it helps you focus on like the important things. So if you can free up your mental bandwidth enough when you get on air, so that like you can just focus on doing a really good job as an entertainer and hitting all the right points and making sure that you deliver the commentary well, then like you're just setting yourself up for success. So I think if you don't do that prep, then like you will be hampered a little bit in your ability to give 100%. So, it doesn't have to be overly complicated notes. This tournament is especially pertinent because I only worked so the World Cup operates in 4 different group stage events, and then that culminates in BlizzCon. So these 4 group stage events are held around the world in different locations. I was only present at one of those group stages and only casted one of them. So for me, it's really important to go back and I passively watched the other group stages as a viewer, as a fan, but I needed to go back and use a different lens and examine these teams that are going to be present. I know a lot about the US and Canadian World Cup teams for Overwatch, for example, but the Australian, Korean ones I need to shore up a little bit more. The Chinese team, the French team. So I think every broadcaster who's worth his salt should always be taking notes, even if it's redundant, even if you don't ever need to open up your notes and read it. The adage I use is that sharpen all of your spears, even if you don't bring them all into battle with you.
Yeah, I like that. How often would you say that you watch on your own time, just like watch events that are happening?
It's like specifically Overwatch or...
Yeah, just like Overwatch in general. Because like obviously it's your job, but I mean, for some of us, we play every weekend. We play week in, week out, and then we also just like watch events all the time too. That's just because we love consuming it. Is that the same kind of thing for you?
Absolutely. I'm voracious because... First of all, like you want to know everything that's going on. Like you don't want to be caught behind, and like if a development happens and you miss it, it's like the same thing. It's like understanding like trends in Magic as well, or decks being stronger, or like where an archetype really just starts to appear. Like KCI, for example, when that like started to become relevant, everyone was like, oh my god, like Matt Nass is just killing everybody with this particular deck. And if you're not sort of paying attention, you maybe don't necessarily see that. I think so. I would say during the Overwatch League, while I'm casting Overwatch, I'm also trying to watch like the tier 2 scene a lot. So I would say 80% of my time awake is either casting Overwatch or watching. The rest is trying to find sanity and solace in my other hobbies. That's why I picked up Magic so heavily in the last few years again. That's why I've taken such a keen interest in it, because I've needed to not lose my mind.
And I think you said something pretty important there. I wanted to kind of like hit on it. You said you watched like the tier 2 as well. Like when you're still watching, like you're casting Overwatch League, which is probably the if not the or right at the pinnacle of Overwatch play. It's definitely like the one that has the most eyes on it. It's going on in Overwatch and stuff. But you're still watching the up and comers, and I think that's a big deal because you see that sometimes of Magic coverage, and I have a problem with this a lot of times. Is like when you watch Wizards coverage. They cover the same 15, 20 people every event, and that's great. Like don't get me wrong, I really want to see how Reed Duke does at this tournament. I love watching those storylines of those players, but every now and then they'll play against somebody who's like a very, very decorated player just maybe not on their tour or hasn't, broken through at the Pro Tour stage yet, but like this guy's got like multiple Grand Prix top 8s. This person's won like 4 Opens, is just a master with their deck, right? Something along that line. And then when they get into the feature match area, the commentator has nothing to say about this person besides, hey, I know their name. Oh, and he might play on the SCG Tour. He's an SCG Tour grinder. And it's like, how do you not like have any information on this? Like, that there's going to be, like, you could just Google their name in the 2 minutes that you have when you find out they're the feature match for like the first 15 things. Hey, look, he's got a bunch of results with Jeskai. Like maybe this guy's a Jeskai master. And I think it's a big thing that you do that. I think it's awesome that you put in that much time. And I think it's very important as well. And so I just really wish, like, I don't know, can you like go over to Wizards and tell them to do it?
I mean, I hang out with some Wizards people every now and then, but I give them a decent amount of professional space as well. I'm always happy to talk to anyone from Wizards about the product, though. And this is a great segue because it's a great opportunity to be on this show as someone who I've been in esports in broadcasting for about 10 years now. So it's a long time, and I've been back from the very sort of grassroots of it, and I've been here until now and until stadium events. So I've kind of seen all of it. And I think one thing that's really obvious from a broadcast, if you really watch it and see sort of what their focus is on, is you can find out what the most important thing is to that broadcaster quite easily. What do you think? So here's a question for you guys. What do you think to Wizards is the most important part of their broadcast offering? Or at least what does it seem to you in terms of their coverage?
Selling packs.
I think Brad is right, but I think it's like you could take it a step further. It's just furthering the game, and to use a term used like from a grassroots perspective, like they want that new player to come in and like start playing. Like they want, hey, the Pro Tour's going on, let me watch that. I want to do that. Like, oh, this guy just played this deck. I want to go to my local store, buy packs, get that deck, play that deck. Like, and then, work. They're selling you a dream, all right? They're selling you that you can be a Pro Tour player too. You can play at a Grand Prix and be on the camera. And they don't always do it the best way. That's my opinion, that I think that like that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to further their game, and they just want to get the player count up and, eyes on the game and people cracking packs. We can go further into like how they do it or whatever. But what's your opinion, Rudy?
I just want to know from you guys, like what it seems to you as sort of veterans.
Rudy?
It's kind of like, really, it's just like, it feels like you're trying really hard to get new people into it, but there's like this really weird, like, kind of tension, because you want to get new people into it, but you don't want to make it so bland or boring or so like basic explanation of everything that's going on that you lose the people who are tuning in. People like us who are interested in watching coverage week in and week out to kind of see what's going on. And like, there are certain commentators that I really enjoy listening to, and I want to hear what they have to say.
When we talk about, the tier 2 scene and stuff like that. And something that's occurred to me as an esports competitor in the past, albeit not a great one, and a caster now, is your most important commodity is not your product. Your most important commodity is your players.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Not the theoretical player that you're trying to attract. The ones are sitting in your seats right now. The ones that have been playing for years and years, grinding in the pro scene, and obviously, platinum pros that are still hoping for more, from making Magic their life's sort of devotion, right? So this is why I study tier 2 players and why I care about them, because they are tomorrow's pro player, right? These are, in my opinion, the most important people and the most important commodity to Wizards for furthering the strength of their game and its viewership.
Amen.
So, I obviously, working on some pretty high level broadcasts. I've worked on some very low level broadcasts in my time. I pumped about 300 individual broadcasts from my bedroom, between sort of 2013 and 2015, doing like nightly sort of stuff, which isn't even that high number by today's standards. But like looking at the way Wizards sort of delivers their broadcast, and this is coming from a guy who loves what Wizards does, and I enjoy Magic. It's just something that means a lot to me. I see a lot of stuff that goes on their broadcast that I find interesting, or if their goals are to further the popularity as a game and stuff like that. I wonder sort of where their directions are. Here's a good example, right? Like you watch a GP. And when you watch a GP, you very much get the same thing. And I've very much gotten the same thing from GPs when I watched it, right? You have two casters at a desk, probably not wearing makeup, as far as I can tell. The lighting is interesting. There's crowd in the background, which can be fine unless the place is empty as hell. There's a plasma screen behind them, and it's usually a little bit off center. It's usually sort of on the screen. And what the plasma screen usually serves to do is tell you if it's good morning magic or red zone magic or what sort of part of the show that is. The broadcast and the broadcast for Pro Tours is definitely, there's a lot more stuff involved in that. But this should be we should be seeing this at GPs as well. We should be seeing this a consistent level of quality across the broadcast. I understand that PTs are far less frequent and are far more of a flagship product, but the broadcast assets that I see utilized on like a GP, I'll use GPs as an example because that's obviously somewhere I think that their baseline needs to improve. They have an intro bump, they have an overlay for score, they have lower thirds for the casters, they might have deck lists later on, which are not always easy to read as well for people that aren't familiar with the cards. You get the deck list, how it has all the lands and stuff like that, and shows graphically what the cards are, but they're this big on the screen. So if someone's sitting there and is going, "Oh, what's that card? Like a Miscloak Herald? I've never seen that card before." Like you can't even sort of read what the card does on there. But like the broadcast is really asset light, and that obviously is indicative of me of budget. But the fact of the matter is that SCG has far less of a budget for putting on these events than Wizards does, and they do a hell of a lot more with it in terms of focusing on their most important aspect, their players.
Yeah,
absolutely. I can't tell you the amount of GPs I've tuned into and just not known who people are and never been given an explanation.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we've certainly talked about on this cast before, and one of the reasons that I think the three of us generally choose to play Star Cities over Grand Prix is just we know so much. Like we just feel like it's good to sell ourselves. If we want to sell ourselves, you play an SCG because SCG will build up your brand, and it's like. I don't know if I'd ever be known if I just spent my entire time on the GP circuit. But I mean, even by standards of SCG or GPs, I'm not really I don't really have the most amount of results. I don't really have a lot of backing behind me like some of these other people do. But there's definitely a lot of pros who no one has any idea about only because they play on GPs. These people who are just insane at Magic. And you just don't know anything about them because you don't get any of that information. Like even a stupid player card, or even at the Pro Tour, like you're talking about, one of the great things is when they have that little bump on the side that has Pro Tours they've played in, their Pro Tour win percentage, how much money they've made playing Magic. And I look at some of these stats and I'm like, I had no idea they played in that many Pro Tours. Yep. It's just like I'm seeing.
And so like this entire like angle of discussion can be circumvented by saying, let's start by giving the same quality of broadcast to the GPs that the PTs get. Mm. We can start there, but there's still, I mean, this has been discussed as well, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but the fact that players that play Magic for a long time leave and go play Hearthstone, a different game, and then get welcomed back with open arms for something like the Silver Showcase and given a heck of a lot more promotion than the current players that are grinding the game. I know it's a grievance that's already been brought up that if that can never happen again, to be honest with you, because. I think it's a roundabout way of trying to sort of promote their game. Like Magic has an incredible endemic fan base, and you don't want to be slapping them in the face. But look, SCG is a great example, right? I was just watching the Open before. Final match comes on, and not only do I know who the two players are, there's also literally a transition that involves both of them and their faces and some stats about them. Even the ridiculous, stats cards that come up with here's such and such, and some just stupid things about them. Like they're integrated into B-rolls. They're integrated into the broadcast. Deck tech interviews. One of my favorite deck techs I saw at a PT was when Willie Edel at PT Dominaria was actually getting interviewed about his mono black mid-range deck, and he was with Maria Bartholdi, I think, and he was trolling the whole time because he was swearing till his blue in the face that this deck was actually Jund, right? Because it did all the things that Jund did in terms of the Chupacabras, and this is what this is supposed to do, and I loved it. I think it was fantastic. This has to be in GP production. This has to be there. People are not going to watch it. How many times a year is there a PT?
About 4 times now, ish.
You cannot.
No, it's going to be 6 this year though.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. But you cannot choose only 6 times a year to put forward a passable product.
Agreed.
Like the people that watch these GPs are going to watch them because they already care about the game. They're already invested. Kind of like me, actually. One foot on either side of the fence. But if you want to attract new viewers, like it has to start with building stars out of your players.
And
what the hell? Like you guys are like Overwatch League pro players are no more or less different to you guys in terms of how much you care about the game and how hard you guys work on it. And yet, Blizzard identifies that these players are their most important commodity, not the freaking pieces of cardboard that you guys are sliding across the table at each other, not the peripherals that these guys are playing on, not the computers that are being sort of given to the Overwatch players to play on. It is the people. Like, I know a lot of the people in this call because I have watched these events and I've actually delved into them and I've tried to find out. I have had to follow my own sort of desire to seek more information, but none of it is presented to me.
Yeah, and do you think that's like the actual one of the main problems of the Wizards thing is that they don't give their players a chance to brand themselves or they don't give them the opportunity as much as SCG does. I know walking into an SCG tournament, whether I go 0-3 or I almost win the damn thing. I almost said win the damn thing, but we all know I can't win a tournament. If I almost win the damn thing, my name's going to be on screen multiple times. They're going to talk about my team. They're going to talk about my sponsor. And we're going to get airtime, we're going to get talk time. My brand is going to be furthered, right? If I go to a GP, here's a perfect example. I'll use myself as an example. I've been on feature matches at GPs before, right? And I have talked to the people who are the commentators before. A couple of them I talk to outside of the game. Brian, David, Marshall, and I, we talk about baseball all the time during baseball season. We talk about that more than we talk about Magic. But someone else was in the booth and they talked about me, and they couldn't get basic things about me right. And I don't have a problem with it. Just don't say anything if you're not sure. But he said that I was from the wrong area of the country. That's it's not a big deal. I'm not mad about it. But he's from Florida, all this stuff. And I'm they just kind of went on and it's fine. It's I don't expect them to get all the stuff right. But if you watch an SCG tournament and I'm in the booth and they have to kill, I'm in the match. If the booth has to kill any time or they talk about the players in there, not only do they have a slide of personal stuff up about me, they talk about stuff that happened in 2012 that they know about me. Yeah, they I remember once they talked about it for a while. They talked about my poker stuff. They're oh yeah, I've heard he's a poker player, and this is back before they stopped talking about poker with Magic and stuff. They just made a concerted effort years ago to not bring up poker anymore. When David Williams is on, they don't call him a poker player most of the time. And they talked about it and from personal experience too. And I know it's difficult. I know GPs are huge and pro tours are you don't want to bother the players, but SCG makes an effort to learn about their players. And I think one of the biggest things, and I gotta agree with everything you say, is you have to humanize the player that they see on screen, and that's a big way of bringing people into Magic too, because you start to have fans, you start to have people like players. There's a reason people like Rossum or like Brad or like Rudy or like to hate Rudy because they exactly because they know who they are as a person, and they kind of identify with them or identify against them in some way. And that's better than knowing nothing.
Brad Nelson.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's a perfect heel. You have
exactly.
these people that as someone who cares about Magic, I want to have access to these people, not to know what they had for breakfast, but is there an interview video? If they stream already, that's really good. But for many Magic players, it's not viable because they don't have the basis built up. Guys like Kenji Akashira, Todd Stevens, yes, they've managed to sort of develop that following, but I just think it's a huge missed opportunity for Wizards to not to push the players and just make them the stars, but to grow together with them. It's a brand alliance that you can create here, because by allowing a Magic player to grow a brand, that doesn't mean he picks up his brand and he goes to another TCG. He's a Magic player. He's going to stay in Magic. It's going to benefit you both in the long term. I want to see player-driven narratives. I want to see graphical assets. I want to see videos. I want to see things that are tailored to me getting to know the guys at the desk, because when you're looking at the table, you might get a brief glimpse of these guys' faces, and then you see about this much of their arm. You know what I mean? I play Magic. I'm a person. When I play paper Magic, I'm sitting in front of another person and having a connection, which makes it for me far preferable to ever playing Arena or Moto. I much prefer sitting down playing paper Magic, and I think it's the spirit of Magic. But none of that is conveyed, I suppose, from the broadcast. The things that we love about playing paper Magic are not always able to be made apparent. I want these people to be built up. I think a lot of these players sort of deserve it. There is a degree where you need to be somewhat of an entrepreneur yourself and build your work up. But if you have trained yourself, not trained, but if you have aligned yourself with being a Magic player for a long time, that can in some ways hurt your ability to build your brand, because in the past, Magic has been the kind of game that has been very grassroots, very cloistered. But the closest comparison I can draw between what Magic is right now and like an esports title is the FGC, because it is grassroots. These people know each other. They've been around a long time, but that shows, that is conveyed on the broadcast. You know, like no one is pretending to be more than they are. You know, on FGC, it's like, yes, we're all suited up, we're sitting here in the booth, we're commentating, but like I've hung around with these guys for ages. Do the commentators know the players? Is there an effort there to really to sort of reach out to them? And I'll be honest with you, I think the commentary is generally very good in Magic. I enjoy it a lot. It helps me understand it. I still have to explain some other things to people sitting next to me, and I feel like, and this is something we've had to deal with in Overwatch for a while, is that we do need to think about the people that we are trying to reach out to as well as the audience we're trying to retain. There is a balance to be struck there. I know, because I sit down with people that maybe aren't super familiar with the ins and outs of the format of standard or of whatever, and I need to explain to them sort of certain things that are happening additionally. And you know, sometimes it's enough if they don't understand. People will be like, oh, I'm going to find out more about this, and they embark on a journey of self-directed learning to become a Magic fan, right? But you cannot expect that of everyone, and if you're trying to grow your appeal largely as a game, then it has to happen. Like, I mean, the Pro Tour Team Series, what a fantastic idea. I didn't even know about it.
Yeah, no one knows about it. The teams don't know about it. They don't know what's going on. They didn't know even the Pro Tour schedule going into next year. So they had to like put their teams together having zero information. And then like you don't even hear them talk about it during the broadcast until like the very end of the year. And they're like, oh yeah, by the way, this match could be worth like $10,000 to these players. And you're like, why haven't I heard about this before?
Where's my Team Genesis intro video? Where's my footage of them boot camping in a fucking Airbnb? I don't care if it's just a bunch of guys with cans of Coke playing games or whatever. Like what does it mean to these players? Like, I never know. It's so hard for me to know what these experiences or what this grind means to a player unless he gets pulled onto a desk, you know, after the GP. Like, you know, I didn't know who Wyatt Darby was. When you won the Pro Tour?
Yeah.
Like, the guy who ripped the Glowbringer off the top? Okay. And he was an interview, and Wyatt Darby was like, well, you know, sometimes you get lucky. Like, it wasn't an interview that was really able to bring out this kind of person. Why don't you get, like, if you could have a top 8 on a different day and interview the shit out of your top 8, produce content and B-roll about these players, and now I know, like, you know, who these people are that, you know, I'm watching. So, I mean, I think that they can do a lot more to work on the players. I think that color commentators in Magic that aren't ex-pros or that aren't English as first language speakers do need a little bit of development. I think generally, like the play-by-play side of commentary in Magic tournaments that I watch, I'm quite happy with. I think like Riley Knight, Tim Willoughby are very astute what they do. I think Marshall Sutcliffe is excellent. Obviously, you know, when we get the guys like LSV and Paul Cheon and BDM in there, then there's no problem. Obviously, there are a lot of events going on, and color casters in Magic have the unenviable job of, while already being jaded as Magic players for a long time, they need to distill what it is about the game that they love so much and convey that. Because you are jaded. Like, that's the thing. Like, if I'm a new player coming in, like, oh, how many times have you seen this top deck Hazoret to win the game? Probably 100,000. But for a new viewer, this is a momentum swing that is very big in terms of the game. And we need to craft a narrative as a broadcast team between these games that's player driven and also is very well tied into the swings and the intricacies of the game. Like, is this important? Okay, he's kept a 5-land hand, but is this a good hand? Is this not a good hand? Obviously, they don't have pocket cams, you know, for GPs outside of PT. So I literally have to use my understanding of what card arts look like to try and figure out what players have in their hands, and even the commentators can miss it sometimes. So
awkward.
Yeah, that's like pocket cams, guys. It's not hard. It is not hard. I want that in GP coverage. Like, you have so many people now that are getting into Magic via watching their favorite streamers play it and like starting to play Arena, who've watched esports events for years. They've seen, you know, 300,000 strong arenas filled with League of Legends fans. They're not going to tolerate walking. I saw it in chat actually, and I agree with this. They're not going to tolerate walking into a GP stream that's underproduced and underbudgeted. Like, they're gonna be like, what is this?
You're just used to something. You're just used to something else entirely. And one of the things is, I forget when it was. I feel like it might have been like almost a year ago now. I was watching Japanese coverage because I was just like, couldn't really go to sleep. I was really interested. Obviously, we're in widely different time zones, and so I was just watching, and I just fell in love immediately. They had a separate side for face cam. They would just turn the camera to a person. You could see when they were thinking. You could see a lot of their expression. I thought that was really important. But not only that, there was a camera behind them for a hand. There was a camera right over their graveyard, which was extremely important because this was during, Godfarrow's gift was a deck, and it was extraordinarily important to be able to see, exactly what was in the graveyard. And I keep watching this coverage, and I feel like this shouldn't be obscene. This shouldn't be like, oh wow, this is so next level. This is something that I should look at and go, yeah, this is literally exactly what I expect to happen. This should be the baseline.
This is the baseline, yeah.
For in coverage, and that just to me is. It's upsetting that that's not something that we have normally.
But the Wizards are not dumb. They have the same amount of access to other esports productions and broadcasts that we all do. They see it. I know that they see it, and I understand. I understand sort of how, well, not completely, but I can understand that how revenue flow with a game like Magic is very different to like a game like Overwatch, where microtransactions are a ever-present part of the business model, and the consumer has a direct connection to the vendor. For example, I'm buying my skins off Blizzard, whereas obviously for Magic, like a lot of their sales are coming from obviously bulk sales, and there's a secondary market where LGSs are involved, and I understand that can limit your budget available for these things. Like these tournaments are literally marketing. The Overwatch League, as much as it is for entertainment, it's also very much for marketing for the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I'm a little worried with the 6 Pro Tours next year. Plus, is 6 including Worlds? Do y'all know? Is that like?
Yes, I think it's actual 6 Pro Tours.
Yeah. And so it's 6 plus Worlds, so 7 big events. Is what I'm saying. Yeah, I am worried about them spreading too thin. I am actually worried about that. Yeah, I mean, because here's the thing: we talk about how the show is underproduced, right? It's underproduced. It's like they don't do enough. Like I feel like they can go further. He's like making this point over and over again. Like he feels like they can do more. He feels like they can go further. And frankly, I think they just should. They should just be going further. I mean, it's the point that he's making. And we're gonna up. So like your fix, and you hear people complain about it. Literally, Jerry Thompson boycotted the biggest tournament of the year, and this was one of the reasons why. It's because coverage was so bad. And your fix is to do it more often, not better. Like, come on, like.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting. I was actually talking to somebody about this weekend, and I feel like a lot of times Wizards eventually comes to the right decision. But the problem is the keyword is eventually. It's just they come out and they're like, hey, we're going to do all these things. But they come out with them, 6 months after, we're asking for them. After we ask for like a major change in the rules, we ask for a major change in, how the game is designed, where we keep coming to these spots where standard is just not enjoyable, like even at all. Standard was so bad for the last 2 years. SCG has not had a standard open.
Yeah.
The only place you could get standard was at a team open because standard was just so bad. And just asking all of these questions, Wizards eventually comes out and they're like, okay, we're going to work on everything. But it's like 6 months after everything we asked. It just doesn't. It feels like there's follow up from Wizards, but it doesn't come in a time frame that makes it. Makes us feel like our voices are heard and that it's going to be relevant.
It feels like they run in like a time lag, and if they're just going to always be operating behind, then we're just like never going to be on like the forefront of like esports or any kind of coverage, right? There's always going to be something better that people are developing. There should be like, yeah, we're going to do that in a year, and then
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it sucks, and maybe they should bring back the old 2007 player council. But I had the same thing with Blizzard as a player of their game and someone who wants to see. We dealt with the Mercy meta for way too long. That was for like 3 months, and that was just. I didn't even want to cast the game anymore.
Exactly.
Some of us casters stopped playing the game because it was so bad. So it does happen, but here's what I think, right? I think Wizards have an obligation. They have an obligation now in a landscape for game-related entertainment to increase the quality of their broadcast, to increase their reach, to also increase the treatment of their pro players. It is a huge investment that people are like yourselves have made into this game. And no, they're not obliged to pay you out huge sums of money, but they damn well should, because you are their lifeblood. Like there is no other way of putting it. And I believe that they know this. I really do. I've spoken to people from Wizards as well, and like it's a game I care about a lot, and I've talked about some of the problems, and I believe they really do, and we need to see it. You know what I mean? Like one thing I want to bring up interestingly about so like a year, I think it was about like the start of this year, Rich Hagan released an article talking about the new structure of broadcast for GPs. Mm-hmm. So I presumably this had come after like people speaking out against like the low quality of broadcast in general, and wanted to see it changed. And I found this really interesting. I think Rich is a consummate professional. I really like him on broadcast. I think he's a great personality. But I found this article really interesting, and it kind of demonstrated to me where Wizards or CFB events, as it were at in sort of what they could offer for tournaments. Because he said, "Hey guys, we're unrolling this new GP and PT format, right? Like it's going to be sort of new and revamped, and we're going to have all these different shows inside the show. So we're going to have MTG launch at the start of the day, really to help the newer players hit the ground running. We got the pro show, then the cut, then Good Morning Magic, and all these different shows, right?" And I'm like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. Like, how are these different shows denoted? Because when I watch a GP, there is no distinction that we've gone from MTG launch to pro show to the cut. Because the only way you will be told is because Riley Knight says, "Welcome to Good Morning Magic," instead of "Welcome to the Red Zone Magic," and the fucking plasma screen behind them just says the logo differently.
Yeah.
Like if you're I love the idea of trying to diversify your focus across the show, where obviously the cut, you're focusing on the people that are winning ins or whatever, and then you're talking about like the Sunday Night Magic where it comes down to the top four. So you've got these different elements that are at work, right? Which is fine. But first of all, you have your newer viewer sort of catered show right at the start of the day. If I'm a new viewer, I'm going to come across this stream by chance, and I'm not going to be waiting 30 minutes before the show starts to be taught how Magic works. That's not going to happen. There is a logical fallacy to put your new viewer experience right at the beginning of the show. And I think that Wizards are trying to diversify like what they can offer to people and try and keep the veterans and and the new players happy. But like it's supposed to be like this fun, this high energy thing. So they're going to do the MTG launch, and they're going to get those newer viewers up to scratch, and then they're going to move on to the pro show where they follow all the pros, and they have these 6 different shows. All 6 of these shows should be running at once in this broadcast. You are splitting the fundamentals of a good broadcast into 6 different parts and only offering one of each of those 6 at a time. I want a fun and high energy broadcast that is relevant for newcomers, that also has relevance for sort of players that have been around for a while. I want to be seeing the big names. I want all of these things at once. You've literally deconstructed 6 elements that make a bare minimum broadcast in this industry, and you just split them over the day, and you said, we're going to offer you all of this. This cannot work. You must take a holistic approach to delivering a broadcast to audiences of all demographics, ages, interest levels, all of that thing. That needs to be all-encompassing all the time, every time. At the end of the article, Rich was sort of saying, "Oh, this is like going to be an ambitious project and stuff like that." And I said, I've got nothing against the guy, but I'm like, I've been in the scene for a long time, and in 2018, this is like the bare minimum that before I get in the door that I should be seeing from your broadcast. Not to mention the fact that none of these different segments are actually backed up with different types of graphics or different assets. I can't tell the show's any different because it's the casters. There's no analyst desk in Magic GPs. It's caster's game, caster's game, caster's game. One camera angle, then the game camera angle, then the caster's camera angle. I mean, I think this is a great aspiration to have before your first broadcast goes live. This needs to be dyed in the paint, in the fiber of what your broadcasts are for GPs and PTs before we even think about sort of adding on the bells and whistles.
So there's a couple things. Like, one of the interesting things is obviously Magic is a very low action game. It's just takes a very long time to finish some of the matches. Matches can drag on for 1 hour of the same game, and you can kind of miss a lot of things. How relevant is something like an analyst desk to Magic when sometimes there's not a lot going on?
Yeah, so I think it can still be entirely relevant. For example, Time Walk Magic is fine, but I don't like when it gets cut off or it needs to be sped up or something like that. I think then you can just throw it out the window at that point. But it is very easy for, let's say it's a 40-minute game going and you have 20 minutes, let's say, before the next round, for your desk analyst to prepare something to show. here's a common interaction we're seeing right now. This is why Amulet Titan is so good. Or, here are ways that you can sort of, how to play against mono red aggro decks. Not, how do you know when to take damage, when not to? I think there's a lot to discuss outside of the game, and also you can use that desk time for correspondence if there are multiple games going out, and getting the reports that we do sometimes see, or a deck tech. I want a deck tech every single round. You know what I mean? Or people who don't understand how the archetypes work. I'm not saying you necessarily need an analyst desk, but with more people on the broadcast, you can definitely prepare more content. Here's a 20-minute documentary on Team Channel Fireball and their preparation for this, Team PT. Maybe you don't need an analyst desk. I'm okay with that. But it's about varying your content offering instead of casters game. It's tough to stick a day of it out, and I love the game.
I like something that you hit on there, and I think it's something that we could definitely improve in coverage, and it's something I think we could take a little bit of Overwatch League from. Whenever I watch Overwatch League, I play the game. Generally, whenever you watch something on Twitch, you're almost never going to have someone who has no idea what Magic is stumble across it. That's a very, very, very small percentage. People have at least a base knowledge of what Magic is or how to play the game. And I feel that, it's hard to always tailor the stream or the show to everyone involved, but it's like you said, you can mix everything together and still have a dynamic cast, and I think you guys do it great on Overwatch. When you're watching and not in the middle of one of the crazy little scrums that's going on with everyone's fighting everybody and y'all are just trying to keep up, and you really show the power of your lungs and keeping up what's going on. But when you talk about ult economy and stuff like that in the show, and you're being educational at the same time as telling people what's going on, you're this is why they're doing this. This might not be the normal way that someone sets up, with Zenyatta on this kind of map, but they know that the other team does this kind of play, right? And so he's going to be here to kind of play that off. And so it's like you said, with red decks, it's when you're playing against a red deck, when are we using our life total as a resource a little bit more? They may mention it in the show. They may be yeah, he's using his life total as a resource or something like that. But to the average player, they're what the hell does that mean? I don't even know what that means.
I still don't know if I let that risk factor go through sometimes.
Yeah.
I asked Rudy in my chat, I'm bro, do I let him resolve this or what?
When do I let him draw 3 cards? When do I take 4? And that's a very, very important, that is a very important thing. Unbelievably important, because that is one of the most important plays in the game. That is a paramount moment in the game. And it is glossed over when it's going on in coverage. I kind of wanted to bring this up earlier when you were saying something, but a lot of it's going on. I think tone inflection is a big thing as well. And a lot of times when you're watching, you're not getting the severity of the moment from the caster as well. And in Overwatch League, when someone's about to cap the point, you guys are going nuts behind the desk. I would love to get a camera of you guys, just jumping around and, freaking out. You got take your jacket off because it's too hot and you're sweating now.
It's been requested. It would be embarrassing for me if it goes through, because there is footage of me captured while I've been casting. They sat a camera in front of me, and we do some weird stuff. But
he's I thought better of saying what I actually did. But
I don't know.
Because here's the thing: I'm not saying no one ever does it, because it does happen, and the day is long, and you've been sitting there all day long, and you're kind of just ready for it to end too. But at the same time, conveying some kind of emotion, because here's the thing. The person home might not know how big this moment is that's coming up, how big this top deck is, and you can't always spell it out for the viewer at home. But there's context clues in the way that you present it to your viewer and the way that you're saying it. I think it's another thing, and that's just a fundamental, right? If you've ever done any kind of acting, you've done drama class at school, literally anything, and I felt I did this a decent amount when I did casting, and I did none of that in school. I was the typical, jockish kind of guy. I didn't do that stuff. And I was how do you guys not know how to do this? It just seems base knowledge to me, like you were saying. So I think that's something that we can definitely improve on as well.
Yeah, I think moments, if I ever hear a broadcaster in a fairly deadpan delivery or something that seems very rehearsed and repeated, and if I see the player's hand like this, there's a huge dissonance then between what the player's experiencing and how that is being conveyed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess Simon Gertzen, you're an incredibly talented player. You have seen this interaction so many times before, but I want to know, and this is what I work on a lot in my casting, because there's obviously so much stuff going on, is what is happening? What is the most important things here? And how can we contextualize this? How can we convey the significance of this even if I've talked about it 27,000 times before. I mean, we're on the Disney Channel on the Overwatch League now, so we have a lot of like new younger viewers, and it is a teaching thing. It should always be a teaching thing. Being a broadcaster is not about tooting your own horn, trying to sound smart, trying to, do monologues. It's not about that. It's about teaching. It's about sharing your passion. Well, at least as far as I'm concerned, it's about sharing my passion, and learning in parallel with my viewers. Like, I want them to be right there with me, like in this sort of action. I think the more Magic you play, sometimes, like some stuff doesn't seem as notable because you play in percentages. How many outs do I have here? What are the odds of this happening? Especially as a poker player, I'm sure that's something you think about all the time. So for a viewer who doesn't approach the game in such a granular fashion, then that's never going to be a way that they see the game. So it's a little bit hard for them to interact with. Like, sometimes I sit on the couch and I'm like, oh, this is huge. This is really significant. And my girlfriend's like, what are you talking about? Why? Yeah. What? Yeah. Is it because of a card in this person's hand that I don't know what that is because I have to know the card art from like miles away with like a slight like glare on it to know whether this is significant? I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand. Like he's pulled like he's managed to top deck a glory bringer or something like that, and this is huge. But like that's not conveyed. So you have to be fairly well trained to sort of see it, and you have to even get to that point as like a real novice in Magic. You have to be motivated to learn about these things, to notice them when they happen, and that's a very small percentage of your viewers. And especially like with viewers now, if they play like Arena and they come and watch these things, it's totally different. Like, one thing we really try and do in Overwatch is make like the Overwatch League games is like with all the rule sets and format the same as like a competitive game, so people can relate to what's actually happening. Otherwise, they don't care about the people. The experience is not shared. They're not invested. You don't give them a reason to care about these people or this game.
Really interesting. I was actually going to bring this up earlier, but I think this is a great time to do it. One of the things that you're definitely known for in the Overwatch League, doing commentary, is how excitable you get. When something happens, something changes, you get loud, energetic. This is not something that obviously we deal with a lot in Magic, but how do you feel something like that would help benefit a lot? Is that something that some commentary teams should try to do more for like little things, or do you think it's something that might get a little out of control if they're just like getting excitable about everything?
Well, I mean, that's up to the caster to maintain a balance there. Quite frankly, like, if you can't keep light and shadow, then you're not a broadcaster that should be making the big bucks. That's like, it's on you. If you go overboard, also on you. If you don't do enough, that's also on you to identify. There are different, like, people like different kinds of broadcasters, and even amongst the Overwatch League, there's like so many different kinds of casters, right? But I fucking care so much about this shit. I sit there watching like, a GP final. I'm like, God, this is so cool. The interaction, like the sideboards in these decks are great. Like, this deck's so transformative after sideboard. I'm watching some guy with like a experimental frenzy and 3 treasure maps on the field, and just like the fact that he just keeps ripping cards off the top, and he's got a runaway steam cube and he can keep playing it. I'm just like losing my mind. Like, this is so busted. Like, that needs to come through. Like, it could also be a matter of like the broadcasters try to revisit that love of the game that got them in there, because that's what propels me forward in Overwatch, right? Is that passion it heavily informs who I am as a caster. But because I've also had enough experience to know that I don't have to be button up all the time. I can actually just be myself on broadcast and be okay with that. But yes, as long as you do it, it's never a bad thing as long as it's done appropriately. It cannot possibly be a bad thing. There might be like some very jaded people in the chat like, oh, I've seen Chain Whirler wipe a full board of 1/1 token so many times. Like, who cares? It's like, but is it significant in the whole span of your experience as a Magic player? No. But is it significant in the context of this game? Absolutely. And that needs to come to the fore.
I think what you have to think of, like when you're the broadcaster, is like, it's your job. And you should always think that like this could be the first time someone is watching a major Magic tournament on Twitch, and it is your sole job to make it the best experience it can be for them. And if you have that in your mind every time you're doing a broadcast, you can't go wrong. You know what I mean?
And the weight of that sometimes like can get to me, because I think about that every time I lace up for these games. Like, a player would for their big matches. I'm like, I have responsibility. It's great to have this responsibility, and it gives me a sense of purpose. But like, I have the ability to shape these people's experience of this game, and like, that's huge. And that's, putting a part of my spirit into it, maybe leaving a legacy of my own in some way. And that should be something every broadcaster aspires to do. You have it every time. There will always be a new person watching it. always. And like, I just get a kick out of it. Some people tell me like, oh man, like, hey, that was really fun to watch. Like, I really enjoyed it. You got excited about that and that. You gave me a reason to care.
Yeah, like that's amazing. That's your job, and like hearing that is got to be like validating for you as well. You're like, I did my job well. I did want to get one more thing in before we're kind of like getting close on the time, because I think we could talk about this for literal hours. I know that you've played Arena. Rudy said that he found you playing Arena the other day on Magic, and I got to ask, what do you think of Arena, and do you think this is somewhere that like Magic can actually see big growth? Like, is there room here to grow the broadcast? Like, is this the medium that we needed?
It's an interesting question, because I still think that paper Magic is the beating heart of the game, right? Because quite frankly, Arena now has all the things, it's getting towards having all the things, friends list please, that will allow it to actually be something that has fairly self-sustainable in terms of competitive tournaments. There's also microtransactions, so like Wizards have budget to put back into the game. It can be something that develops constantly. I think obviously it doesn't recognize other formats, which is a big shame. Because there's something incredible about watching like a great modern or legacy match. I think it is how you get new people into Magic. It is how you engage them. I got a bunch of people in my Discord who were like just started playing Magic, and I started playing it on stream, and they wanted to watch and play. I'll be honest, I never used Moto, because when I first thought about playing Magic online, it was like 10 years ago, and the interface was god awful. And it
was so bad.
I'm like 17, 18, like. I just want to play Kitchen Finks and be done with it. Like I don't know how this works, right? So there will be I'm telling you right now, a huge rise in popularity for this game, in interest, because there are so many influencers also like out there on Twitch who are playing it. This is a huge opportunity now to bring new eyes in. Is there a way that like the Arena experience can be integrated with the current Pro Tour structure? People, can they still be encouraged to play paper, because it's kind of tricky to sort of marry the two of them up? Can we get a deck master overlay for a PT broadcast so I can hover the screen and actually see what the cards say? Like,
yeah, that would be amazing.
Big brain.
I'm sure that can be made. Or you know what you can do? You can just embed it as an extension where someone can click it and it will expand out a window, and maybe it just says, here are the cards that are in play right now, and I can hover over them. You know what I mean? Like there are ways that we can sort of up that, but I think. I mean, like, is it going to be like Hearthstone, where like they have Blizzard runs Hearthstone tournaments that are quite successful, where obviously they're sat playing at computers? Me as a traditionalist and as obviously a Magic enthusiast, I hope that's not the case. I always hope I can see the look in my my opponent's eyes where I draw 7 cards, or like be there. And I also just enjoyed that sort of companionship with people I never met before. That's why I love like pre-release tournaments, because everyone's so chill. Like, it could be, and the time is ripe now. There are a lot of big influencers playing the game, people that I didn't even know play Magic now, or that we play Magic together because I found out they play because of Arena. So it's huge, and Wizards must capitalize on this and also use either the impetus or the revenue to increase their broadcast offerings, because they inhabit a space in this sort of games broadcasting area that is theirs alone, but they will not be able to grow it if they do not catch up to the level of production that other things are putting out.
And I think you made a really good point there. Like, you have to strike while the iron is hot, to use an old saying, because right now Magic Arena is hot. Like, you're seeing like a lot of streamers from other communities, big time streamers from other communities coming in, and they're streaming to thousands and thousands of people. I mean, Magic Arena and like just streaming Magic was beating Hearthstone for multiple days in a row on Twitch. That had never happened in like the history. By the way,
I work with Blizzard, not for them. It is a better game. It is a better game to play than Hearthstone. I'm putting it out there. So there is no reason it should be held back. It's slightly more complex, but I think that is so good for it. It's also outside of hoping to draw lands every turn. It doesn't have this ridiculous Sarin level RNG going on as well. So it's a better game. It's big boy Hearthstone. Like, get around it. I don't know why. There's no reason why it can't succeed in this space.
Exactly. I just, it's like you said, I think the most important thing is you got to hope they jump on this opportunity that they have, because they probably envisioned in their mind that Arena would go well. I mean, you have to like, believe you're going to succeed to do something that big, but I mean, they knocked it out of the park. Everything's been great. Their numbers have been great. So let's see if they actually achieve what they're setting out to do. And it's like you said, hopefully they take some of this revenue, they take some of the extra impetus, like you said, and actually push it into just doing better broadcasting, because that's what we need. That's what they need to grow this game. And I don't know if they have the urgency that's needed. I don't know if they understand the urgency that's needed here in this situation.
What they need more than urgency is just ambition. I want to see ambition from Wizards in this regard as a fan and a long-time enthusiast of the game. And I mean, like, bro, if someone from Wizards reached out and said, hey, we'd love to chat about how we can improve it, like, I'm not an expert. I've been in esports for 10 years, so I do have a strong degree of expertise. I'd be right up there. I'd be like, yeah, let's chat, because it'd be a labor of love for me. I want to see the game and see it grow because I believe in it. I really believe in it.
It's actually interesting that you say that, because one of the things about Magic in general is that it's seen growth every single year. Every single year it's seen growth, and we've seen no changes, and it feels just like, well, there's no reason for us to change what we're doing because we're still doing well. You know?
I mean, I'll say this. So Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan had 46k viewers peak. That was obviously last year. The Magic World Cup had 19,000 max concurrent viewers. The World Championship of Magic had less viewers than Pro Tour Ixalan. It had less viewers than Grand Prix Lille.
That's unacceptable. I mean, Jerry Thompson aside, it's unacceptable. Like,
show me your ambition, because you're gonna need it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean,
there's just so many little things they can do, and hope that they start taking those steps, now. But more likely than not, with the basis of everything that's going on, we'll see all these changes in about 6 to 12 months.
Yeah. If at all. You gotta say, okay, I will say this. I am hard on Wizards, but I am kind of a Wizards fanboy like you. I love Magic. It's been a huge part of my life. Like, I wouldn't have some of the best parts of my life if it wasn't for Magic. I do understand that they have to answer to Hasbro, and for them to change something, especially something as it is big to change something like on your broadcast, like how your brand is shown to the world, like what you're trying to present. I'm sure it takes a while. I'm sure they have to go through countless meetings, talk to a bunch of people. They probably talk to people who haven't had a lot of experience in this realm. Like, if you listen to, I think it was like the CEO had like a conversation about this the other day. Some of the terminology he was using, I was just like, has this guy ever even heard of esports before? Like, does he even know what it is? Like, I'm not sure he actually knows. Like, it sounds like he was literally reading it off a card, And like, the terminology he was using was just kind of off. So like, there's probably people there who have the same opinions we do, and they're just beating their heads against the wall. They're like, please just let me fix this. Let me fix it. Like, help me help you, kind of thing.
I believe that those people are there. Because the thing is as well, is like, you've got if you're in a company structure like that, and the decision needs to be made here and you're here, you need to not only pass this along, but you need to educate every step up the ladder as to why this is important. Like, you have to sort of prove why it needs to happen. So stuff like that can take ages. I have that, working in the Blizzard infrastructure as well. Like, that's how those companies work. But the Magic community have loud voices. I hope that we see these changes come around, because, I mean, like I said, the players are just the most important thing that Wizards has. I'll be honest with you. That I think that's all. I love the game, but I love the game because the people that made it great, because they're the ones that put those 60 cards together and sat across from each other and played the game. That's what matters most to me.
So that was great. I think that was. We all want coverage to be better. We think it'll lead to the growth of the game. Arena's been great, obviously. Hopefully for leading to that. So hopefully we'll continue to grow. Hopefully we'll get some changes in. But I think that's going to wrap our show up for this week. Just so everyone knows, we are going to be having a second episode this week. So Brad, Tannen, and I can really discuss a lot of what was happening in Standard and Modern. If we talked about everything in this episode, this would be like a 3-hour episode just talking about coverage, Standard and Modern. But
I'm good to go for another hour if you want to keep going. I know we can't. We got to get you guys out of here. Yeah,
I got to drop some Dominaria, boys.
Good luck. Open it to Fairy and then sign it and send it to me. If you are interested in finding us, you can find me over on Twitter at @TheNotoriousBZA. You can check out my streams when I do stream, which is like never, over on twitch.tv/NotoriousBZA. Read my articles every Monday at CoolStuffInc.com. Of course, the Grinders Cast MTG has our own Discord. It's open to everybody, but we do also have a Patreon, so make sure you check out our patreon.com/GrindersCastMTG. We do have a special section in our Discord for patrons only. We talk a lot in there with the people. You have a little more direct access to us. We also post our 75 before every tournament. So if you're interested in seeing what we're doing, I post it in there.
Net decking.
You say it like it's a dirty word. You say it like it's so bad.
That's all I do, by the way. That's all I do.
Because you're smart.
It's true. Yeah, I'm gonna go on that one.
Uber's a very dirty net decker. I can't watch the stream. It's just disgusting to me. I'm hoping to watch it there and see something new and innovative, something interesting. Nope. Dirty fucking net decker. He just walks over, just grabs any necklace because this is what I'm
playing. Export to MTG Arena.
It's like control C, control V. We're good to go.
Mitch, where can they find you if somebody was looking for you?
I'm on Twitter at UberShouts because I do that normally at work when it's not nighttime and my neighbors aren't threatening with one more noise complaint to have me evicted. And also I'm on the Overwatch League, which you'll be able to watch starting February next year. It's on ESPN. It's also going to be on Disney XD and of course twitch.tv/Overwatch League. So I'll see you guys there.
Disney XD? That really XD? That's not a great idea with Twitch. I don't think they've ever heard of. They've just not have read a single Twitch chat ever to be able to go. Yeah, we'll go on XD. That'll be fine. Brad. Or actually, let's start with Tannen. Tannen, where could they find you?
I was gonna say February is way too long of a wait, and I'm planning. I'm gonna talk to Rudy about it, about trying to catch some of the Overwatch League in person this year.
Yeah, I wanted to last year. I'm 100%
we talked about it.
Down to fly out.
Yeah. We're definitely gonna do this. Korean barbecue all day and night in Overwatch League whenever we can.
You can I'll look after you boys.
Oh yeah, definitely coming now.
We'll make a plan. We'll figure it out.
You can find me on Twitter at @TannenGrace. I tweet a lot about Magic, but I do mix in some sports and some other random stuff. You can find me on Twitch as just TannenGrace. There's no "the" there. That account is still being held hostage, and I do not negotiate with terrorists. So I don't know. Will we have that anytime soon? I have been streaming almost every day, a lot of Arena lately, but I do run in some MTGO here or there, but it's kind of like he said, I can't stand the program half the time, so it's so prohibitive for me. And then you can find me on here almost every Monday night. We're going to be doing this around 9 p.m. Eastern. I keep saying the wrong time because I'm in a different time zone than everybody else. We'll be doing this again pretty much every Monday until the end of time. Brad, where can we find you?
You can find me on twitch.tv. /Brad Burigmos Enraged. You can also find me on Twitter at Brad Burigmos. And you can also reach me at thetannengrace@gmail.com. That is my email, which you can reach me at. Definitely not Tannen, 100% me. It's mine. And I generally stream late nights.
This is still my favorite gag. And this is also not a joke. Brad actually owns that Gmail account.
He really does.
We were on a podcast, and Brad's just like, "I'll be right back," and just starts typing. He's just like, "I now own the TannenGrace."
He did it in the middle of an episode, like in the actual middle of an episode.
But anyway, I think that's gonna do it for us. We are gonna. I think we might try and record tomorrow. I think that's the current plan. We'll let everyone know if you follow us on GrindersCast MTG over on Twitter. So go ahead and follow us there. You can also like us on Facebook. It's like GrindersCast MTG. You should find us. So check out there. We'll announce when we're going to go live, but we are going to go live again and record our standard and modern show. But I got to thank you so much for joining us, Uber. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Mitch.
All right, like I said, great to be here, guys. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And we will catch everyone next time.
Oh,
God damn it! I hate you so much. I'm
gonna send everybody to another stream real quick, and then we can keep chatting for a minute because I definitely can't keep streaming tonight. Hold on one second. I think DeCandio is on. Hello,
Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon's on.
Brandon DeCandian.
All right, let's host my my hetero life mate.
Whoa. That's Mark's hetero life mate.
I'll fight him for it.
Mark shaves his head. There's no way he'll lose to you.
Yeah, I really wish we could have had like a 3-hour episode for this episode because I feel like we definitely didn't get to cover everything, but like I think we got a good bit in.
Yeah, I was looking at the clock and looking at my book, and I'm like, fuck me, I took a lot. So.
Well, I mean, like we all are like pretty long-winded except for Brad, so you know. Real quick, hey, for everybody watching tonight, thank you very much. Give us a follow. Give me a follow on Twitch. I have my Twitter right below as well. You can follow. I always post whenever I'm going live, whatever I'm doing. So make sure you follow everywhere there. For all the people who did follow during the show, I usually do give you a little shout out. But again, we're recording a live podcast. Couldn't do that. But thank you very much for following. I really appreciate that. And we'll see you all for the podcast next week, same time. Me, kind of sporadic, so we'll figure it out.
I think so. Another podcast this week. We still have another podcast.
Yeah. We'll see if we actually broadcast it or whatever. We'll figure that out. But all right, and thanks everybody in the chat. Y'all were awesome. I kept up with as much as I could. Love seeing the enthusiasm. See y'all next time. All right, we are no longer live.
Did you host Brennan?
Yeah, I hosted Brennan.
Brandon? Who's